Good morning, everyone. My name is Debbie Wetzler, and I'm coming to you from Maryland in the United States. I have my European buddies on and one lovely woman from California named Gabrielle. And I'd like to tell you my story, which is the discovery of a company and a product called ASEA. So I will hit share screen and bring up. So, as I said, my name is Debbie Wetzler. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I've done many things. I started my own interior design business, which I did very successfully for several years. It was featured in the Washington Post and the Washingtonian Magazine. I managed and bought for a ski shop. I had two beautiful children, my daughter on the top right and my son with his wife, and then two beautiful grandchildren who I love being with and sharing time with. And so my life was very good until I stepped down and I went to work for a children's website. And that children's website was amazing. He was quite a visionary. He had Pixar and Disney who wanted to buy it. However, he did not know how to run a company. So in 2008, when the economy went really upside down, he went bankrupt. And I was left with absolutely no money coming in at all. And I was a single mother and didn't have a second income. And people did not want to be decorating their homes then. They were trying to save them. And so I literally pounded and pounded the pavement for months before I was able to find another job. And it was very stressful, extremely stressful, because my daughter was in college. She'd already gone through quite a lot with a divorce and some other things in her life and wasn't doing too well. And I didn't want to stress her. And then I had an elderly mother. And that was it. And I knew what stress this would be on her, knowing I didn't have any money coming in. So I kept this all to myself, and it was very stressful. And so I finally found a job as a server in a restaurant, and I was working double shifts in that, from 10 in the morning when they opened until midnight or 1 or 2 sometimes in the evening when they closed, just to make enough money. I had one 20-minute break a day, and that was it. And it was a very hard job. I was running and just trying to make ends meet. And I was doing okay, except that I was getting further behind in my mortgage. And I did what I was trying to do is lower my interest rate so I could keep the house, but they kept turning me down because I wasn't making enough money. And so I finally, after 4 years, got the letter that I was dreading, and that was that they were going to foreclose on my house. And I have to tell you that I just kind of lost it. My daughter's face flashed up into mine. The thought of telling her we were going to be homeless was overwhelming to me. And I didn't know where to turn because I couldn't turn to my mom or any of friends. So I literally went upstairs and I got on my knees and I put out a big prayer to the universe. And I just said, please send me something that will help people, but something that I can turn myself around financially. And I got in bed and I was so upset. And I remember the next morning the phone was ringing and I got on the phone and it was my girlfriend from Colorado. And she just said, Debbie, there's been a huge breakthrough. And I think you might want to know something about it. And I remember just looking up and saying, thank you. And I went running downstairs and I jumped on the computer and I saw things on that video that I'd never seen before. Most people haven't heard of redox signaling molecules, and I had never heard of them. And so I started listening to this video and finding out that they were made in the body and all this stuff, and it just struck me what they could do for the body. If this is real, then this science has got to be huge, because it was the first time it had ever happened. And so I think I did what everybody else did. I trusted Cindy completely. She'd already told me it had saved 3 of her best friends' lives. And so I was pretty impressed with that. But I wanted to find out more about them. So I literally thought, who can I call? And I thought of my friend Elizabeth. She is very smart. She graduated from Johns Hopkins. She worked at the time at the National Institute of Health as a molecular biologist. And so I literally went to her with this information. And when I put the information down in front of her, I'll never forget. She literally looked up and almost fell off her chair. She was so shocked. She looked and said, Debbie, I've been studying these molecules for 17 years. we've had scientists from around the world come and try to do this. Are you telling me that somebody was finally able to stabilize these molecules outside the human body in a bioactive form? And I looked and said, well, yes. And she said, you have no idea how massive this is. This will change the medical field as you know it. And I just got the chills. And so she literally pulled a book right off the shelf in front of her and opened it up, and it was all about redox. I mean, it was true. She'd studied this. And she's the first one to tell me that this literally regulates every major system of the body, these cells, because they are the signaling cells. Your communication and your systems and your tissues are all communicating all the time. That's why your heart can beat and you don't have to think about it. And that's why you breathe and you don't have to think about it. And your blood pumps and your heart, everything happens because your cells are signaling. And so she went on to explain what they did. And she said, cells are meant to be protected. So that's the first job that these redox molecules do. They're meant to protect your cells. We are constantly being bombarded with toxins and stress and horrible things that we put into our bodies. Food is not good. Air, water is not good. And so these are meant to protect your cells so they will live the length of time they're supposed to live in a very healthy state. But of course, our cells do still get damaged. So then they are meant to go and detect these damaged cells. And then they send a very clear signal or communication to the immune system. And the immune system comes down and it either repairs the damaged cell, or if it's too badly damaged, it will replace it. So that damaged cell is told to commit cell suicide, that the body takes away that cell, and a healthy cell next to it will replace it with another healthy cell. And in that way, these signaling molecules allow your cells to communicate a very vital message to the immune system for healing. And that's what they're meant to do. They also have another amazing function, which is to activate the antioxidants in your body. And your body makes master antioxidants like glutathione. And that balances your immune system. It takes away oxidative stress. It detoxifies you, and it neutralizes free radicals. Those are very important for the body to stay healthy also. So they have two very important jobs. So then she tells me that the reason we need to replace them is because we make trillions of these when we are very, very young. And so a 5-year-old has lots of mitochondria, and that takes the food you eat and turns it into energy, and that's what makes these redox molecules. So a little 5-year-old has tons of energy and runs around all day, and if they skin their knee, they heal overnight, and they never wake up with sore muscles or an aching back and tell their moms they can't go play at all. But when puberty happens, you start losing 1% of your mitochondria and the redox molecules every single year you're alive. When you get to be 70, you're at about 10% of what you used to make. And you can definitely tell the difference between a 70-year-old and a 5-year-old in the way they heal and also the energy they have. And so for the first time ever in the history of mankind, we are able to replenish these redox molecules. And your bodies really can act younger again, heal much faster, and you do have a lot more energy. And that's the beauty of redox molecules and what they do for you. So she went on to explain that this has been a huge area of science for years. It started in the 90s when they started getting Nobel Prizes for redox biochemistry and research and figuring out what these little molecules do for your body. And there's been over 1,200 textbooks and articles and journals written about redox. And so she goes to PubMed all the time, which is a public international library of health. So doctors do studies and then they're peer reviewed by other doctors and then they can post them on pubmed.gov. And we went there, and at the time there were 3,000 articles. And she went, well, that's pretty impressive. Now, when you go, there's 70,000 studies that have been published just in that length of time, in 8 years. So scientists and doctors are really understanding and realizing what redox molecules can do for the body. And it is the fastest growing area of science out there. So at the time, there was really only one product. There was a liquid in that bottle form, and that's right here. And she went online and looked it up, and she found that not only was it native to the body, identical to what you make in your body, but it was also 100% safe and non-toxic. So she ordered a case right then, and she got on it, and she's been on it ever since. And she had blood sugar level issues, and she hasn't had any since then. Since then, 4 years later, because these redox molecules are very, very active, they're very reactive. The minute they touch your tissues, they go right to work looking for those damaged cells and activating your antioxidants. And they wanted to create a gel form of it to put on the outside. So they had to find something that wasn't so reactive with the redox. And they found a very benign clay, and they were able to make this gel out of it. It's called Renew 28. And it was brought out for your skin cells. We all want to look younger. I haven't had one person yet that said they wanted to look older, unless they're maybe 12. But so this helps your skin cells regenerate much, much faster. And it helps take away, then your skin cells are regenerating faster, and your lines and your wrinkles and your age spots all start disappearing and going away. But because these are redox molecules, we found that if you put this on any muscle or joint discomfort, or even stress points like the back of your neck, that if you rub it on 3 times in 5 minutes, you virtually can have 9 out of 10 people look at you and go, what the heck happened? Because their discomfort has completely disappeared. And so that's how we show people how quickly these little redox molecules can work. We get them on the gel form. And since that time, 2 years later, we came out with a whole skincare system. And that's because the redox, the Renew 28 was doing okay as a product. However, people were still putting lotions and cleansers on. And if you looked at the ingredients in most of them, they are so toxic for your skin. They've got chemicals in it that you should never put on, that just go right into your body. And so the Renew 28 was trying to counteract all the stuff that people were putting on their skin. And so now they've come out with a skincare system that's beautifully all natural, nothing toxic in it. And so there is a very effective cleanser that's very gentle, but very effective. And we use that, again, all natural. Then we put the Renew 28 over our faces, and then the serum, which is a very concentrated form. And that's 100% effective for fine lines and wrinkles, and 95% effective for photo aging. And so that's the sun's damage, basically. And then after that, we let all that dry, and we put on this amazing moisturizer, again, with nothing toxic in it, but just is very helpful in hydrating your skin and your face and keeping it and protecting it. And your skin feels like baby skin after you've used this. So it was an amazing new product discovery that came out. And pictures are worth 1,000 words, so I'm going to show you a little bit about what redox does for the outside of your body. So literally, this lady tried the Renew 28 on her throat and neck area for 28 days. And you can see the difference in her neck in just 28 days. The redox molecules just helped her skins regenerate so much faster, and it looks so much younger. We were amazed. And this gentleman is a research veterinarian. So he did something, he wanted to have the same palette that he put the Renew 28 on. And so he did something only a man would do. He put it on half his face. And you can definitely see the difference in this side of his face and the deep lines and the wrinkles around his eyes and his nose area and his lip area just within 28 days. This gentleman had a very deep crack in his heel that's so painful. And in just 1 week of using the Renew 28, that had completely disappeared and healed. And this lady had puffy bags under her eyes. And again, in 28 days, those had disappeared. And we have people that literally have chemical burns and things that would probably leave you permanently scarred. And literally in 2 months' time, you can't even tell that she had anything like this going on with her face and her skin and her so it virtually saved her looks. This man has a tag on his eye. Those are damaged cells. Those got the communication not to replicate and not to come back. So they started slowly disappearing and eventually just fell off within 16 days. And this lady had a rash that affects many, many people in the world. And literally in 3 weeks' time, that had almost completely gone away. This is actually my favorite picture. Her name is Rosie. She lives in Austin, Texas. And I always tell people, be sure you take before and after photos. So before you start using this, take a before photo. Your skin cells are regenerating, but they regenerate slowly. And you're looking at your face every day and you don't notice the difference. But somebody who hasn't seen you in a while will notice the difference. So 28 days later, take an after shot. Luckily for us, her doctor did that. He took a before shot and she went back in and she slammed the ASEA down and she goes, I don't want to take this anymore. Get me off of AutoShip. It's not doing anything for me. Her doctor looked at her in surprise and took an after shot. And then he slid those 2 shots in front of her and he goes, Rosie, I want you to take a look at your before and after shots and tell me if you still want to quit taking the ASEA. Well, she was just totally amazed, couldn't believe the difference in her photos. And of course, she stayed on it, and she looks even better today. It's truly amazing. So, of course, my next thing to do, I had literally 20 minutes a day. And I know what new companies do. Most of them go under. Most of them aren't led by somebody who can run a company, and they either don't have enough product, or they don't know how to grow, or they don't know how to do things in the right way, and they go under. I just went through a bankruptcy with another company. I didn't want to go through another one and be putting my valuable, precious time in at that point because I didn't have much. So I borrowed a buddy pass and I flew to the launch of the product. Well, as you can see now, here's our world headquarters. It's a beautiful facility in Salt Lake. It's all windows. You can see those beautiful mountains everywhere, and it's a very solid company. But when I got there, they were already in the black, and it was 7 months after they'd launched. I was astounded by that. No company gets into the black within 7 months of opening. And it was there that I met the 2 founders of the company, Vertus Norton and Tyler Norton. And once you meet him, and I think anybody who's ever met Vertus knows immediately that you are in the right hands when you meet this man. There is something about him, his energy, his integrity, that people just know right off. However, it was there that I found out that he was this brilliant businessman, vice president of strategy of a $37 billion company that most people have heard of. It's called Kraft Foods. He was also head of Hobart and Dart & Kraft, but he ended his career as Kraft Foods. He knew how to run a company. He had created a strat league technology that he could zoom out like an eagle, look at the issues, come back down, and he was given departments over and over that he had to bring back up, and he made them the top producing departments every single time. So he was brilliant. And Tyler had gone to the top of his financial institution in his late 30s, which was unheard of. And he has a gift of training. So he was training men that were twice his age, and they were giving him all the respect due because of his abilities. So these were the 2 men that were running the company. I knew I was in pretty safe hands after that. Now, I told you they were, without debt then, but now we've done over 490 million to date, 84 million in 2017. We've had significant growth every single year. This year, our sales are going to exceed 100 million. That's when we're hitting momentum. And I can tell you, if you're looking at this, that we did our best month in last December, then we topped that in January, then we topped that in February, then we topped that in March, and we've topped it in April again. I just talked to our director of sales. And we're projected to reach over $1 billion within 5 to 7 years. We are also positioned ahead of the growth of $3 billion industries. And we've got a product that's 5 to 10 years ahead of its time in all 3 of these: health and wellness, athletic performance, and anti-aging. We could go to $1 billion in just one of these industries, but we're in all 3. We also produce all of our own products. So we have complete control. These are all not copyrighted, they're all patented. We have a patent on the process and no one can copy it. And no one else has been able to figure out how to do it. So we are the only people in the world making this product. Our facility is FDA and GMP and NSF compliant. So it's a pristine facility. Anybody that's been there has been quite impressed. We've got an annual capacity of 1 billion in product. And I just said we're only at 100 million. We've got lots to go. And from that one production facility, we ship to 16 different global distribution centers. And as of last year, we have an internationally compatible IT system and network that will virtually give you all your information in any language of any country that we're in, all the reports, all the introductions, all the science, everything. And it's quite amazing what we have and how strong we are. We're in 31 different markets at this point, and we're expanding as we speak. So we're all over North America, Canada, the United States, Mexico. We've gone into most all of Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and now we've gone into 5 Asian countries: Philippines, Singapore, Hong Kong, Thailand, and Taiwan. And we're also in South America, in Colombia and the Dominican Republic. So we're virtually going into many, many countries, and you can open up distribution units there. But it was when we got to the ASEA story that I was profoundly moved and knew that I had found the right place to be and the right place to put my time and energy. And that's when Virtus got up on stage and started telling the ASEA story. And virtually what he said was that before this company was ASEA, there was a company that was playing with salt and water, and they had made something which, when the lab technicians started drinking it, was taking away their health issues, and they were just disappearing and going away. But it would turn back into salt water within 5 minutes, and they had no idea what they had created. So you can't patent it, and you can't use it. So they were trying to take this down indications with the FDA, through the FDA, to figure out what they were. And they virtually took it down 3 indications of diseases that affect the world, 3 major ones that affect the world. And then they just ran out of money, and they never did figure it out, but they found out that it turned around completely, those 3 diseases. And so they were looking for somebody to help them financially, and they found Virtus, thanks to Tyler. And so Virtus is sitting on the board, and he starts drinking it. He's close to 70 at this point, and he starts feeling like he's in his 30s. And he knows they have something. However, he couldn't help them financially, so he stepped back off the board, and he watched. And as they started selling off their assets to stay afloat, he was able to go in with a group of investors and buy the formula. And through his daughter, Nancy, he was introduced to an atomic medical physicist, which he needed to help him figure out what this was. And this atomic medical physicist, Dr. Gary Samuelson, looked at the formulations and started going to the University of Utah every single day doing research. And to his astonishment and amazement, he finds out that what they have produced were redox signaling molecules identical to what we make in our bodies. Identical. I can't imagine what he felt like that day. And then he and a group of scientists got together and stabilized these molecules within a year's time. Now, I just told you, my friend at NIH told him that they've been trying to do this for 17 years. That's why this is such an incredible breakthrough. Nobody thought it was going to be possible at all. And so then he had his product, and he picked 40 people, friends and family, who had major health issues. 6 of them were only given a few months left to live. And he just gave them the product and said, drink as much as you want. There's a perceived health benefit. And we just want you to report back. So in 2.5 months, he went back, and all 40 of them had completely turned around. So much so that they had shipped it to their friends and family, 135 more people in 20 countries. And Virtus had what he needed. So at that point, to the best of his knowledge at the time, he had called in a pharmaceutical company. And he had them look at all the medical papers and all the white papers and all the science studies and everything. And they were prepared to buy it. And that's what he wanted to do. He's 70 years old. And so they said, we are prepared to give you a check so large you don't go anywhere else. And we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. And Virtus was thinking, that's great, until they said, but if you take this check, you and everybody else comes off this product. And I can tell you, he said, that's rather harsh. Some of these people are only alive because they're on this product. And they said, well, that is the cost of doing business with us. And it was at that moment he realized, if he took that check, no one was ever going to hear about this product. And they were probably going to shut us down. And so, in his integrity, he looked at them in the eye and said, I can't take your check. The world deserves to know about this. And I need to get this to the world. And so it was at that point that he turned down the check. He went home to his wife and he told them, if I don't start this company, no one's ever going to hear about this. And so that's how ASEA was founded. And we thank him every single day for his decision. And so we have lots and lots and lots of science, and most people don't really care. They want to know, is this safe and will it work for me? And I can tell you guaranteed, yes. It works on everybody as long as they take enough of it and take it for long enough. It's redox molecules. It has to work. This is how your body heals itself. But I was very proud when the Huffington Post came out a couple years ago with 5 emerging technologies in science that will change our lives in the coming years. Now, I had not heard of the other 4, but the 4th one was redox signaling technology. And I can tell you that I was very proud to know that this was the only technology out there who had a product next to it. And they named us, and we're ASEA. And we are one of the 5 technologies that will change our lives, change people's lives in the coming years. And we've already seen what is happening. So if you want any of the science, please get back to the person who introduced you to this webinar, and we were happy to send it to you. Here are all the institutions that have done research with ASEA. And I can tell you there's been a ton of research to back it up. Pacific Northwest Labs is run by our government, very prestigious labs up in the Pacific Northwest. They did our safety studies and our antioxidant studies, proving that when you take this, your master antioxidants, glutathione, SOD, and catalase, increase by 500 to 800% every time. This one is the Human Performance Lab in North Carolina, backed by UNC, North Carolina State, Appalachian, and Duke, and several others. They did a metabolite study showing that this changed the cell's metabolites, the blueprints of the cell, by an enormous amount that they'd never seen before, and that it immediately threw you into fatty acid metabolism, meaning you're burning the fatty acids around your abdomen and your organs. And that's where athletes get so much more endurance. And the recovery is incredible on this product also. And so you're burning the fatty acids instead of the glycogen in your muscle and your brain. And it's leaving that there for the end of a race. This is Stevens & Associate. They did our cell regeneration and our blood flow, proving that the minute you rub on Renew 28, within 15 minutes, your blood flow goes up by over 50%. And it stays up that way for 96 hours. Bioagilytics is a company run by PhDs in the North Carolina Triangle, and they test 8 out of the top 10 pharmaceutical and biotech companies for ingredients that they say are in their products. Well, we say we're redox molecules, so they test every batch of our ASEA to prove that there's trillions of redox molecules in every batch. And that's how you can go to pubmed.gov. We're redox molecules, here's your studies. Lastly, Dermatest Labs in Germany is one of the top 5 dermatological labs in the world, and they gave every single one of our skincare products 5 stars, and 90% of the people that were testing the product wanted to buy it. They had never had that happen before. And then just recently, we went to Tarot Labs. Now, some of you may know Tarot Labs because they're the labs that started Ancestry.com. And they have a very precise way of measuring and calculating genes. Now, genes are what tell cells what to do. And they wanted to see if ASEA, if given to some people, would change the cells and the genes and have them light back up again. Our genes shut down because of all the stress and toxins that we do have in our lives. And so they just aren't working. And so your cells aren't performing correctly. And they gave our ASEA product to 60, 35-year-olds with no health conditions at all. They were just healthy people. And they found that the genes lit up in many areas, but there were 5 major genes that lit up 20 to 31%. That's like having a city light grid just come on again and your body just lights up and gets working again. And just one of these genes affects all these different pathways. So you can see, you might not understand some of them, but the one gene alone affects spinal cord injury, sudden infant death syndrome, insulin signaling, human thyroid stimulation, ovarian infertility genes, serotonin. Most of us who get on this product are very, very happy, and circadian rhythm. And that's what the last Nobel Prize was awarded for, circadian rhythm, the pathways that got you to sleep like a baby. And I can tell you that that's another effect of ASEA. When people start drinking it, they start sleeping like babies. So what we did was rebrand our whole bottle. It's now called ASEA Redox Cell Signaling Supplement. And on the back of our bottle, you can see the 5 genes that this just lit up, which affect nearly everybody on the planet. So it improves the immune health system. So it balances. So, lots of people with autoimmune, I'm sure, and low immune systems, and they're constantly getting sick. This brings that back into balance. Help maintain a healthy inflammatory response, and virtually everybody has inflammation. So this helps maintain it. Maintain a cardiovascular health and support arterial elasticity. And I was just talking to these people that are on about this one woman in ASEA who had the largest brain aneurysm, which is a big bubble in one of the veins in your brain. If it had exploded, it would have killed her. But because she was on ASEA, her veins were so elastic that it allowed it to expand without exploding. She was operated on. She's absolutely fine, and it's completely disappeared. And the doctors are astounded. They've never seen anything like it. It improves gut health and digestive enzyme production, and a lot of people have digestive problems. And it modulates hormone balance to support vitality and wellness. And this isn't just for women's hormones, it's men's also. It helps regulate testosterone, and most men love testosterone. And we've just come out with a new product called Source. We like to think of redox molecules as our basic building foundations and the construction managers for building a good, strong foundation. And so you need building materials to go with that. And they brought out Source, which is an amazing product with vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, everything that goes with everything to allow you to be able to absorb it and use it. And it's got some amazing equivalents to it. And it's got a patented bioavailability. So your body is actually able to take it in and use it. So it's become a very impressive, and even my son, I can tell you, calls. He doesn't call me about anything, but he was telling me how much better he felt on Source in just a couple of days' time. I was truly impressed. So there's several reasons people like to take a look at this. And I have to take a look at it for every single one of these reasons. I had my mother who had severe health challenges, and I can say that a lot of my friends did also. I always want to look younger, don't we all? I had a few health issues that can be corrected. I didn't want to have health issues in the future. I needed more endurance for the job I had. I was still a server. I was having to go about 6 miles a day is what I topped out at. I love having more purpose in my life, but I definitely needed an additional stream of income. So that was my main purpose to begin with. Once I saw what this product was, though, it was like I'd been given the gift of everything, basically. So I could really help people with this and not ever hurt them. So I started telling all my friends about it. And it was kind of like referring people to a restaurant or a movie. And I just call them and say, I found something extraordinary. I think you should take a look at this. I don't know what's going on in your life, but that's what's happening. So they got on the product, and then they started telling their friends. And it became residual income. The work I did once just kept paying, because every time they'd order a case of ASEA, I'd get paid on it. And I kind of looked at it and went, well, I've got residual bills. I have bills that come in every single month. No matter what, I might as well make residual income to cover that. And then they started telling their friends about it, and it kept referring and referring and referring, and it just kept growing and growing. And there are 8 different ways to get paid, which I'm not going to go into here, but I was making some pretty good money. So I can tell you that in the second month, I reapplied for a loan modification. And this time, because I was making that extra money, they approved me and it did save my house. And then only a year and a half later, I was making enough money to be able to quit my job and to pay for my son's rehearsal dinner. He was getting married. And I can't tell you what that felt like, because I would not have been able to give them even a gift for their wedding if it hadn't been for ASEA. So that's what it's done for me. And here's kind of what it looks like. I told somebody, and they told somebody, and then it just kept growing. And it grew and grew and grew. And I can tell you that, luckily for me, it has blessed my life so much. I didn't know people in Europe, really. I didn't know people in Asia. But I can tell you that friends of mine did, and they were able to tell their friends over there. And now I have friends around the world who I truly treasure. And I love going to Sweden and seeing all my friends there. And they're some of the ones that are on this webinar today. So you can literally have an American distribution channel, or an Asian one, or a European one, or an Australian, or a New Zealand, or in South America. Wherever you'd like to grow and build, you can do that. It's a very seamless system, and they're paid in their own money. So you can know people anywhere and have them be trying ASEA in the countries that we're open in. And they reward you so generously. The more people you tell, the more you're rewarded. And the gifts and the trips that they take us on are just memory making and just life changing. So we have lots and lots of fun. I can tell you that my mother has now passed away. ASEA has become virtually my second family. I feel like I could call so many different people, talk to them, have them give me advice, just like I would, when I had my mother alive. And it's been just truly life-changing. And we make lots of memories. Just last year, I was able to go and take my family on a cruise. I was without internet or any way to communicate with people, and my residual check just came in while I was making all those beautiful memories with my grandchildren and trying to chase them around a boat. And just last year, ASEA took us to Panama. It was such a colorful, beautiful trip. And I went with my ASEA family, and we just had such a great time. So the decision is up to you. If you're new, you can completely ignore this information. You might decide to try the product because the product sounds good, and it will change your life. It will help you be healthy and your cells to live the length of time they're supposed to live. You can decide to share this with just a few people, some of your special friends or family, and help change their lives. Or you could virtually have the life of your dreams. It's really your commitment and your decision and whatever you decide to do. So our mission and ASEA's mission is to better people's lives and be a force for good in the world. And we would love to do this with your help, because trust me, you know people that I don't know. And your decision, whatever you make, is going to affect them also. If you decide to ignore this, then they're not going to hear about it as soon as they would. And you've got people out there probably who could really use this and are absolutely praying for this product. I have many, many thank you notes from people who thanked me for opening my mouth and saying something. So your decision will affect others. So think about this carefully, get all your questions answered, and try it. We would love to have you join us and be part of our family. Thank you very much.